Analogue 3D. So if you don't know, there's a company called Analogue, and they basically make retro consoles that can basically like updated versions of retro consoles that can run the original hardware. So this one is for the Nintendo 64. They have several. I have the Analog Pocket. I did a video on the Analog Pocket. I'll link it here. And it's like a Game Boy, but it can play several other games. They can play several other games from that era. There's the Duo. There's the one for the Sega Genesis. There's one for the Super Nintendo. There's also, I think this is for like audio, some shit for audio or some shit. But yeah, I saw this back when they first released it. I wasn't able to get it, but they are restocking soon because I do have some old Nintendo cartridges laying around somewhere. And I've been on a mission to recollect some of the old consoles that I had back in the day, just because I just see like a weird future happening where physical media is gonna they're gonna try to kill it down. So I've just been starting to collect more physical media as I've been going along. So, and I'm really about to start getting back to doing that with games, because when I started doing content, I just found it easier to download the digital version than the full version. So yeah, so enough of me rambling. Let's see what GameStop has to say in their review for it.
Here we go.
The Analogue 3D is finally here. It is real. It is hooked up to my 65-inch 4K television right
into. Put your hands together if you want to clap as we take you through this monkey rap. Like y'all don't know about that. Y'all don't know about Donkey Kong 64. Y'all too young.
now. And if you're as excited as the N64 kid on Christmas morning 1996, you probably want me to stop with this labored introduction and get right into telling you all about this FPGA-powered modern Nintendo 64. Is it really 4K? Are the scan lines as good as we hoped? How's the lag? Is Donkey Kong 64 really as bad as people say? The answer is yes, great, and of course not. DK64 rules. Before I break down what makes this the latest must-have retro gaming hardware from the fine folks at Analogue, let's take a look at what you can expect when it arrives at your door.
Yeah, because they're starting to ship out. You was able to pre-order it like back in the summer, and it's gonna start. It says it's gonna start shipping in Q4. It's Q4 now, so yeah.
Coconut shell. Oh yeah.
In addition to making life easier on retro gamers who want to play their original cartridges on modern equipment, Analogue has made a name for itself through its gorgeous industrial design. The design borrows heavily from the lines of the original Nintendo 64, but in a more modern, subdued profile. It immediately triggers a familiar nostalgia while also fitting in with a modern gaming setup. Inside the box is the Analogue 3D itself, a 4K HDMI cable, 30-watt USB-C plug, and a 16GB SD card with the Analogue's 3D OS pre-installed. There are 4 controller ports along the front, capable of handling any N64 controller you can imagine. Almost. The Nintendo Switch Online N64 controller doesn't pair with Analogue 3D, which isn't a huge problem since I have my OG Atomic Purple corded controller. Analogue says any original Nintendo 64 controller will work. Haven't tested.
I think I still have mine.
Grandma got me that one terrible Christmas morning. The same holds true for Nintendo 64 accessories like Rumble Packs. Stuff like Memory Pack and the Nintendo 64 Expansion Pack, which you may remember was required on the original N64 to play games like Donkey Kong 64, are built into the hardware, so you don't need them anymore. And the Analogue 3D gives you the option to toggle it on or off for compatible games. Bluetooth controllers are a snap to sync. The LED on the front that displays power and error codes also activates Bluetooth pairing with a quick press. Another small but excellent detail I love here is each controller port has an LED on it that lights up when you've paired a controller, so you can see instantly who is geared up for a round or 2 or 70 of GoldenEye multiplayer.
Oh man, good times.
Is touting is the introduction of its 3D OS. It tracks your game library, so every time you plug in a cart, the Analogue 3D recognizes it, gives you basic information about it, and keeps track of it in the library part of the interface.
Nice.
Where things
I love
really
it.
open up is the rest of the interface, allowing you to adjust settings at a level that's equal parts daunting and exciting. The part of my brain that loves to tinker and fine-tune is awash with dopamine inside of these menus. There are too many options to list here, so I'll go over the biggest ones. On the home screen, pressing the R button gives you the display options to output in 4K or 1080p, with both options available in 60 Hz for NTSC or 50 Hz for PAL. The display mode menu is where things get wild. This is where all those gorgeous filters live. And if you thought it was going to be as easy as an on-off toggle for scan lines, you have wildly underestimated the Analogue 3D. Right now, there are 5 separate submenus for 5 separate display modes: BVM, PVM, CRT, scan lines, and clean. The BVM and PVM options give you a reasonable approximation of what it's like playing N64 on a professional monitor, the kind, all those TV stations threw out or gave away for free when they switched to digital. The CRT version.
I feel like if you're buying this, that's right up your alley. Like, I'm one of those people that like to tinker, and if you want that nostalgic feel, you can set up however the hell you want. So this is really cool. I feel like every time they come out with a new one of these machines, it's better than the last one as far as like the amount of settings and how optimized it is with the games that it can run.
Will look familiar to pretty much everyone, and the scanlines option is kind of like CRT Lite. Clean removes all filters and gives you all the sharp pixel edges that can fit on your 4K display. Inside each display option is a menu further letting you tweak how you want your games to look. There are separate adjustments for horizontal and vertical beam convergence. This is getting into real CRT enthusiast territory now, and it is way over my head. I don't notice a major difference when I make adjustments to these settings, but I know there are people out there who have
people that will
knowledge level
definitely
of how cathode ray tubes work. And for those folks, this is just another awesome option to tweak things to their exact specifications. However, I did find with the right combination of cinema zoom and integer plus image size, you can force a pretty decent 16:9 experience on your display without it looking all gross and stretchy and weird. Pretty neat to see these old games in widescreen, but since almost all of the important menus and things like score and life bar are designed with 4:3 in mind, it's not an ideal way to play. That being said, I think I could probably get used to it. All of these settings are going to be highly subjective. Further, they're also deeply dependent on the games themselves. I found what looks good to me in GoldenEye doesn't do the trick in F-Zero X. Thankfully, you can make these adjustments on a per game basis. So once you dial in your preferred settings, you don't need to revisit them when you pop in another cart.
Nice. I love it.
The promise of the Analogue 3D is it allows you to play your original games as you remember them, and I'm happy to say it almost nailed it. Even with the best gaming display around, it's never gonna match the instantaneous response you get with a CRT. But man, it is damn admirable and much better than the emulation on Nintendo Switch Online plus Expansion Pass. The difference is barely there, but it's there. Where the responsiveness really shines, for me at least, was in F-Zero X. First of all, the NSO emulated version doesn't respond or perform well at all. It's good enough, but I find F-Zero X on NSO to be pretty much unplayable. But on the Analogue 3D, it is an absolute pleasure. It runs as smoothly as you remember, and I was actually able to control my racer competently and win the Jack Cup. I found this task basically impossible on NSO, and competing via the Analogue 3D on my 65-inch screen and having it look and run as good as it does is an absolute thrill.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like, if you have like an Analog Pocket and you have the and you get this thing, like, you cover a large part of the NSO library. That's Nintendo Switch Online. If you didn't know, so there's a expansion pack where they have these virtual consoles up, and it has its own cool features to it, like save states and being able to rewind and things of that nature, different filters, kind of like what this is, because it's the same. I think it's pretty much the same technology, FPGA or something like that. But it's he's saying this is better, and I believe it, because this company is, their main focus is this technology, whereas Nintendo is just like, all right, let me go reboot this and throw it up there and slap a price tag on it. So I'm not surprised that this would run better than the actual Nintendo Switch online service.
Every other game I tested, from Donkey Kong 64 to Super Mario 64, Jet Force Gemini to WrestleMania
This is my
2000,
game.
It felt awesome once I was able to dial in all the
No Mercy in WrestleMania 2000. Jeff was Gemini.
The scanline filters do an excellent job approximating the look of an original analog tube display, but one problem I ran into is noticeable combing. Initially, I didn't see it at all as I was playing the games with the filters turned on. It wasn't until I tried capturing video using the clean display mode that I first caught it. It is especially noticeable during the dancing N64 logo at the start of Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah.
The rotating Rare logo also shows these artifacts. That said, with the filters turned on, you might not even notice it at all. And
you can still see it, but not that much. It's not that bad.
If you're trying to use the Analogue 3D as your go-to device to capture or stream N64 carts, it might be an issue. If you're using your Analogue 3D to revisit your library of classic games on your modern TV, honestly, it's barely worth mentioning. Still, it is the only real complaint I have on what is otherwise an excellent machine.
Here we go. You probably give it a 7, 8.
The Analogue 3D is the best possible way to play your N64 library outside the original hardware hooked up to a CRT. Its refined industrial design makes it an attractive modern addition to your gaming setup, and the massive flexibility afforded by its bountiful filters and display options lets you fine-tune the visuals to fit your exacting personal specifications. This is an FPGA machine built with the hardcore enthusiast in mind and gives new life to a system that's notoriously difficult to accurately emulate. That being said, the combing is a bummer, especially for something aimed at such a specific audience of old head video game nerds. But if you long for the days of the N64 and want to bring them back without having to sacrifice the modern amenities of your giant screen 4K television, there is no better option out there right now.
Come on, Cranky.
Hey, okay.
For more retro gaming goodness, check out my review of the Analogue Pocket. And for everything else, keep it right here.
No, y'all could check. You can check out my review of the Analogue Pocket because I did one too. So you can check out my review. His is gonna be more detailed, but mine is gonna be cooler. You know. So yeah, let me go ahead and do what it is I do. Let me see. I'm trying to get a good part with it actually showing the console off because I don't want to miss it. Here we go. Hold on. There we go. So the Analogue Pocket, the Analogue 3D. It is basically Nintendo 64. It's an FPGA machine, meaning basically it can run like old hardware, not at an emulation level, but at a hardware level, basically. So it can run these old Nintendo games. Your old Nintendo games that's been collecting dust in your basement at your mom's house or in the back of the closet somewhere. You can now whip those out and play those in 4K if you want to. So last I checked, it was like $250, and they're about to go on sale again. So be on the lookout. You go to the Analogue website. I have a review of the Analogue Pocket, which is basically like the Game Boy version of this. And you could run your old Game Boy cartridges as well as other handheld games from the past. This is cool. I'm definitely planning on getting it, and I definitely can't plan on putting it up. I want to bring awareness to this type of things because I feel like game preservation is important. So definitely check this out if you can. All right, so you already know the vibes. Like, comment. So hold on, I'm getting too ahead of myself. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. You already know the vibes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's your boy JusticeXFalls. Will be out. One.